Hello, everyone. Welcome to our next interview here. We are so excited to have our guest with us today, not only because of the entrepreneurial bond that we're going to be probably sharing and talking about today, but also the idea of, what it takes to maintain a business these days. It takes a lot. A lot of us, it takes a lot of grit. It takes a lot of focus, and it really takes a lot when you're thinking about building and having a business that's not just focused on creating amazing food, but also a business that makes impact in the community. So I'm really excited about digging into the background of Detroit Vegan Soul. If everyone hasn't been there, this needs to be on your list once, we all start traveling again. But even if you just want to drool over some amazing photos, I highly recommend go check out the website, follow them on social media, because you're going to be amazed at the creations that they have. So I'm really excited about having one of the co-founders with us today, Kirsten Ussery. And I'm just excited about just not only digging into the story, but talking about how you've not only weathered the storm over this last year, but also, the process of starting your business. I think for a lot of people, that beginning phase is challenging. It's hard. There's easy for that doubt, as they say, the doubt monster to creep in. And there's all these things to learn that I'm hoping you'll maybe share with us today, some of the things that you've learned along the way for anyone else who's getting started. And also maybe shed some wisdom on maybe what you not only have planned for us in the future, but also some wisdom around the things that you've just learned over the last year. So number one, thank you for taking the time and joining me today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited about this.
Great. So let's back up. Let's go back even maybe before 2012, before you started the restaurant. Give everyone a little bit of background on, what did you bring to the party, in a sense, when you decided to start the restaurant? I know for many of us, we kind of have past lives. I have that past corporate life, and my understanding is you have one as well. So maybe get everyone kind of up to speed on what your past life was and how that brought you to the point of thinking about and ultimately creating and starting an amazing restaurant.
Okay. Well, so I was working in the public relations industry. I worked for private companies, and right before I started Detroit Vegan Soul, I was working for the city of Detroit. And the whole idea of Detroit Vegan Soul kind of started with our personal journeys, myself and the other co-founder, and just wanting to break the cycle of disease in our families. So high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol in my family, and cancer in hers. And at the time, Detroit was on all of the worst lists. So the highest obesity, high mortality rate, all of those kinds of things. And there weren't any 100% plant-based options. And so we became vegan. We were veganizing family recipes, and we wanted to fill that void. And so we started actually while I was still working. And so we put up a website where people could order lunch and dinner from us. And my partner would create the food and pick me up on my lunch break, and we delivered lunch to people. And then after work, we deliver dinner meals. On the weekends, we do pop-up events. We cater large weddings. And at the time, it was just the two of us. People thought we had a big company, and it was just the two of us doing all of this work. And it was great to start that way, because a lot of people question the idea of vegan food in Detroit. Will this work? And so we were able to prove that Detroit was ready for that type of option. We gained a large following, and a lot of those people from those earlier days are regulars in the restaurant now.
I love that.
Yeah, but it was funny during those times, though, because we would have meetup points. So, we're meeting in front of a random building and exchanging food and money with people. So,
It's the life of being an entrepreneur.
right.
But I really like that you built a following. I think for a lot of people, when they have an amazing business idea or they're trying to do something that's never been done before, they forget how important it is to get the community to rally behind you, to get people involved. And even, and I'm going to dare to say maybe this happened for you as well, but what I find a lot of times when you get people involved really early on in your business, they can help you shape your business. They can really give you feedback that can help you decide go direction this or this direction instead. So it becomes a little bit of a collaborative approach. And I don't know if that happened to you or what was
Yeah,
your experience?
definitely. There were a lot of things that we tried in the beginning in terms of menu offerings, and we paid attention to the feedback. We listened to people, and those items that were the most popular became our main courses on our menu when we opened the restaurant. And so we already knew when it was time to open the doors. We knew, what worked with people and what didn't. And then, also we have fans that go to bat for us. So when, when people want to give us a hard time, we have people that are, fighting for us. So that's really great.
That's nice. Isn't it nice to have like someone else kind of in the arena in a sense, not only just cheering you on, but believe in what you can do? It's an interesting thing that not everyone talks about, when you start a business is when you have those relationships with your customers and they fight for you.
Mhm.
It's such a like it's such at least for me, it was such an emotional journey when it first happened to me that I was like, wow,
Mhm.
this is great. I feel like it's really a community, not just people talk about it, but what it's really like.
Yeah, definitely.
So how did you know it was time to start the restaurant? Because for a lot of people, they start maybe doing steps, getting there, but they're always worried about like, when do I make the leap? When do I go from what's already working pretty well? And then I'm going to go even bigger, like in your case, opening the restaurant in 2012. What was kind of the catalyst? What was the inspiration? What helped you know it was time?
Well, I think for us, we already knew when we started that that was the goal.
Okay.
And so we were working toward that. We were basically trying to prove to ourselves and the community whether or not a restaurant would be possible. And so when we were doing the pop-ups and we'd get, we had large followings for those, and we had people requesting that we do more, then we knew that the idea of opening a restaurant was the right idea, and so we moved forward with it. We also in that process we competed in a competition to win money to open the restaurant. We did not win the competition. We were in one of the top 4 finalists, but part of that process was that people had to vote for us. And so we had to get online votes. We also had to set up tables around town at different venues and get in-person votes. And so that was a pretty clear indicator that, that people wanted to see us succeed. I mean, there were hundreds of people that competed in that, and we were able to get down to the final 4. So,
That's
to
wonderful. Now, was it vegan specific type of contest promotion, or was it just restaurants in general, or?
it was just a small business competition. So there
Ah,
were different types of businesses that were competing, and we were fortunate enough to make it to the final 4.
ooh, I love that. I love it when vegan businesses kind of show up and we, elbow our way into making space for us in kind of the world and letting people know that, hey, we're here and these are amazing, lucrative businesses. So I'm glad to hear that. So from that, let's talk about opening the restaurant. What was it like? What were some of the things that you didn't expect that went crazy well? And what were some of the things that were maybe a little bit different than what you expected? Maybe it was a small setback or a challenge that you figured out how to overcome.
Well, so in the beginning, when we knew we had this great following, we knew we had support. We weren't prepared for the first day. So at our grand opening, we had a line down the street and around the block. And
Yes.
so we prepared for maybe a couple of hundred people. We said, okay, a couple of hundred people may come through. But it was a lot more than that. So from the very beginning, it surprised us, the level of support that we got. So that went very well. Some of the things um, that we didn't really anticipate when you open a brick and mortar restaurant or business, there are things that you have to think about that you don't necessarily you're not going to know in the beginning. So you have to learn about electricity. You have to learn about um, you know maintenance. These, because now you are responsible for a building, and even if you're a tenant and you're renting a space, there are certain things that your landlord may not do, and you are responsible for those things. And so, you end up becoming a jack of all trades, and, learning how to troubleshoot things you never imagined that you would be dealing with. And then, the process of getting inspected, and, you know, um, inspectors coming and, you know, um, going through that process, then pointing out all the different things that you may need to address. And, and even if you try to prepare for that, there's always going to be something that
Yes.
that you missed. So it's a rigorous process. It's not for the faint of heart, but it's so rewarding in the end.
Yeah, I could imagine, going through that process, having people show up and just preparing. And then obviously, you go through that process, but you still are running the restaurant. You still are growing, you're still learning. So you're, like you said, you're just juggling
Mhm.
so many different things, not even just in the beginning stages. I tell a lot of people, when you're even in business for a while, those challenges still remain. They just change, they just shift
Mhm.
because as you grow, as you maybe in your case expand your menu, try different things, change staff, change marketing approaches, try different strategic ways of reaching new customers. You almost, it's more about building that skill of being able to manage multiple things, prioritize, and be a little bit flexible in these scenarios that becomes like this amazing asset for many business owners. So let's jump into current day. Let's talk about this last year that's been very challenging for so many people on so many levels. Let's talk about what's it been like for you in your shoes, and also how have you handled it and managed it?
Well, so um, I like to say that the only thing that is constant is change, and this past year really proved that. So, who could have imagined that we would be in the middle of a pandemic? Um, and so we had to be very flexible and adaptable. And like you said, as a business, that's one of the most important things, that are skills that you can have, is just to be flexible and adaptable. So we have two locations. We ended up closing one of the locations, keeping the other one open. We are doing takeout, curbside service only, still, because we're kind of we're taking our time. We don't want to rush back into the dine-in, because, as you know, there's still, worries about variants and all these different things that are happening, and we want to make sure that we are completely safe to do that. So we're doing takeout, curbside, and we've really taken the business more digital. So now all of our orders are online, so people order and pay online. They get notifications through text message and email when their orders are ready. When they come to pick up their order, they check in through text message and let us know that they have arrived. And then we recently closed that communication loop digitally by adding another component where shortly after a person gets their order, they get a message asking how we did, how was the service, how was the food, and we get immediate feedback and we can address it immediately. So if there's something that we need to do to maybe replace a meal item or give a refund or, whatever we need to do, we can do it right away. So that's something that's easy to do when you're in a dine-in environment. But when you're in a takeout environment, it's not as easy, to address those customer service issues. And so now we have a closed loop kind of digital environment for our customers.
And that's so important because being able to get that feedback, get it in real time, and then be able to act on it. It's always great. Like everyone thinks about surveys, and that information is great to get. But when you can be nimble enough, when you can be responsive and make sure you can respond to customers right away, that is just, it can really set you apart from other experiences. And also it can just draw more and more loyalty. When you put that in place, did you have to like bootstrap and pull it together? Where you guys already had the plan in place, so the pandemic in a sense kind of made it go into place a little bit sooner? Or did you really just find some great person or group somewhere that put that in place for you? I'm just curious what that process was like for you.
Well, we were already doing some online ordering, but we still kind of relied heavily on our dine-in service.
Okay.
And so just, keeping our ear to the ground and seeing, what was out there. We had one point of sale system, and I was hearing a lot about a new point of sale system that would allow us to do the online ordering and pay, and we could also integrate our gift cards online and all of that. And so, being able to adapt and be flexible means making a quick decision. So we made the quick decision to change to this new point of sale so that we could have all of that capability. And then throughout the pandemic, I've just been participating in every webinar and workshop and, online resource that I can to learn as much as I can. And that's how I learned about the customer service feature that we now have that closes that loop. So just listening and being a part of things and always having an ear out. And I think that's an important lesson, I think, for small business owners, because we get so mired in the business that sometimes we forget that we need to be constantly learning. And sometimes we don't make the time to do that. So I think that's important to make the time to learn, to always be trying to discover new things.
Yeah, I could 100% agree with you. It's really hard sometimes. You get so drawn into your computer, the fire drill, the emails, social media, somebody, DMing me, that it's really easy to forget to kind of take a breath, to step away sometimes, look at things holistically. And then also, how to keep your own kind of psyche in check, how to make sure you're not draining yourself. Did you have any like self-care things that you picked up in the last year that helped you? Did you do anything differently over the last year to really not only continue that learning, like you said, joining webinars, but anything else that you've done, or maybe advice for other people that are still trying to get that balance? Because I still feel like we're all still in a little bit of that stressful time still, that maybe some advice from you might help someone out there.
Yeah. So pre-COVID, for the first few years of the business, we were both in the restaurant, from sun up to sundown. And just prior to COVID, we were making that transition to more self-care. So I was getting regular massages and um, getting manicures and pedicures. And, for me, that was a way to take care of myself. That was my time to feel better about myself and also kind of release some stress. So then when COVID hit, you can no longer go and get massages or, go to the steam room or get mani-pedis. So I had to learn how to do that for myself and to take the time. And also, I think an important lesson from this pandemic is you can't stress out about everything. So whereas before, anything that would happen, I would just be completely stressed. Some things that happen now, I just kind of have to let it roll and be okay with it and say, okay, well, this is what it is. We recently had to close our location for a couple of weeks because we had an employee test positive for COVID. We'd gone the entire pandemic, without this happening, and so you can't predict that these things are going to happen. There's nothing that the pandemic has showed us that we don't have control over as much as we think we do. Yeah. So we just had to roll with it and take the time to do the things that we needed to do. And we did that, and we got back open. And yeah, we missed sales for a couple of weeks, but it is what it is. You just have to take those challenges and just keep rolling, and don't beat yourself up, too hard about, different things that come up.
Yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, that I'm sure was a big challenge. That's a big thing to face, to keep everyone safe, to respond timely, and so forth. And, it's one of those things where you have to respond quickly. Mm-hmm. So I can definitely see how that can be a stressor, but I really, really commend you for getting through it. For a lot of people, we get too many challenges. Sometimes we just sit down, or we stay on the ground, as they say, and we don't get back up. And it's just wonderful to hear that, you keep getting back up, because, we need not only individuals like yourself, we need restaurants like Detroit Vegan Soul out there in the world doing this great work, showing the demand. And then also, I just think it's an important part of the community. We were chatting before I started, that I have a little bit of roots in, Michigan, from going to school at University of Michigan. So I got to spend a good amount of time in Detroit. And I'm originally from Philly, so I'm really more of a city gal here. So I get so excited to hear about, restaurants that are in the community, that are about supporting and so forth. Do you want to give us maybe some of your thoughts on how your restaurant really kind of leans into the community and how you kind of see its role in supporting your community?
Yeah, definitely. But before I say that, I want to say the amazing thing about what happened with our recent closure was that we had customers contacting us saying, we love you, take the time to do what you need to do. When you guys get back open, we'll be there. And, that helps to keep us going. So, but as far as our role in the community, we were very intentional about that from the very beginning, because in Detroit, and I'm sure since you've spent time there, the neighborhoods are often neglected, so there's a lot of focus on the downtown area and some, more visible neighborhoods. But we wanted to. And so when we opened, people encouraged us to go to a more high traffic area, downtown specifically. But we chose to be tucked inside a community because we wanted the people there to have a place where they could walk to get a healthy meal. And especially in a large city, where transportation isn't always reliable. we felt that was important, and where there's not always grocery stores that are nearby that have healthy options. And so we located there. At the time, there wasn't anything else there in terms of commercial activity. And now that neighborhood is completely thriving. It's a destination. It's hard to find a house for sale or rent there, because people want to be there. There's other restaurants that have located there now. There's gyms, fitness centers. It's a thriving community. And our second location that we opened about 4 years later is also in a community that we're on Grand River, which is a major thoroughfare in Detroit. But in that area, they hadn't had a sit-down restaurant in 10 years.
Wow.
So to be able to bring that back to the community was very important to us. And so, we view our role as being a catalyst, for economic development, and just a safe, nurturing place for people to come and get a good, healthy meal that they're going to enjoy. It's something that, they're not going to miss the meat. And we do soul food. We do vegan soul food because we want people to get that feeling of home, of family. So that's what we bring to our community.
That is great. It's amazing to be able to make that kind of impact in the community, to help, bring, like you said, a sit-down restaurant to a community that hasn't had one before. And to also dynamically change a community. And like you said, it's in walking distance. People in the community can enjoy it. I think that is so important, and so glad that you had the kind of foresight to know that that's where you were going, and then to be able to see the result of it, I'm sure is just an amazing blessing and a wonderful thing to see, even to this day, even through all the trials and tribulations to this day. It's amazing, I'm sure, for you to see that.
Definitely.
So let's talk about the future. Let's talk about what's next. Let's talk about what's going on, what people should get excited about, what people should be taking this interview and sharing it with other people and telling them about what's in store for Detroit Vegan Soul.
Well, we have some exciting things, coming up. Like I said, we've had to really be adaptable and flexible. We no longer have that dine-in experience, and that was one of the things that was so special about Detroit Vegan Soul, coming in and sitting down, and there's somebody next to you that you don't even know and sparking up a conversation. So we don't have that. So we've been really trying to think of ways to kind of bring that experience back. So some of the things that we're doing digitally, we'll do that, but also we will be bringing a retail component so that people will be able to sell some of our products retail. So that you can get some of your favorites, not just through the restaurant, but through this other retail arm that we'll have. And, you may see us in other, stores or places like that. You'll see Detroit Vegan Soul.
It's exciting.
We're also using this opportunity to be creative. So my business partner, Erika, the chef side of the business, will be doing a chef series out of the location that's currently closed. So we haven't been able to activate that yet, but we're going to use it as an opportunity for her to express herself creatively. So there will be some new menu items that people haven't seen that come from Detroit Vegan Soul in the next few months. We're also working on outdoor dining for our location on Grand River, so that people can have that experience that I described earlier. So those are a few things over the next 3 to 6 months that people can expect.
Ooh, that sounds really nice. And I'm sure in the comments, we are going to see people excited about that as well. So, as we wrap up today's session, walk me through maybe any final wisdom for anyone out there. As people watch this, as people watch your growth, as people watch what you've done in the community, do you have any recommendations for anyone out there who's really running a business, whether it is restaurant based, food based, pop up? Any thoughts or anything that you would want to make sure that as people kind of see your journey and how you've created success from what you initially envisioned, is there any recommendations that you would have for them so that they can achieve, similar success that you had?
Definitely. One is make sure that your foundation is strong. So by that, I mean, um, you know, all of your processes and systems, because no matter what life throws at you, if you have a strong foundation, you will be able to adapt. So in the example of a restaurant, make sure your menu is costed out, make sure that, that you have a solid business plan, that you have, and that part of that plan is diversification. So, how are you going to, you should plan to kind of diversify and change your business up every couple of years. And then two is make, in the business plan, we focus on a lot on the financial part, the marketing part. There should also be a component of your business plan that deals with yourself. Put you in the business plan. So just like you're creating goals for, revenue for the next 2 years, what's your goal for yourself? Is it that you want to be able to take one vacation a year, or that you want to be able to do that mani-pedi at least once a month? Whatever those goals are for yourself, make sure that those are in the business plan and that you're working toward those as well. Because if you leave yourself out, then you'll get burned out, and everything will fall apart because you're the backbone of your business. And then finally, everyone plays an important role. So we didn't talk a lot about staff. We, in this pandemic, we went down from 30 staff to about 6 staff right now that's working strong.
Mhm.
And it really allows you to see how important those people are, making sure that they are a part of your process, that you're listening to them, that you're giving them what they need. A lot of the technology that we've put into the business has been all about, not only making the experience for our customers better, but also making it easier for our staff, making things more efficient for them so that there's not as much stress on them. So, everyone plays an important role in the business. And so everyone needs a voice. Everyone needs to be heard.
And I think that's great, great, great advice. Definitely making sure that people have goals for themselves and they are part of their business. And I'm so glad you touched on the team aspect, because for many of us, the reason we are still here, the reason that we've been able to weather a lot of the storms that have come our way in the last year is because of the teams that we have, the people who are there, who are showing up, the people that are staying motivated, the individuals that are, seeing the vision that maybe you and your partner have set out and pick up that vision and help you carry it forward. And it's amazing to have, great people around you. And it's so important, I think, even as business owners, to make sure that your team knows that they're appreciated, even for the things that they do that may not ever show up in a specific job description, but they're the things that really make a difference, to your customers, to your vision, and then the impact you make in the community. So I'm so glad you brought that up. So as we wrap up today's session, I want to make sure that everyone can get in touch with you. Follow Detroit Vegan Soul, just even if they're not in the area or if they're watching this, if there's other ways that they can support what you're doing as far as sharing your website, sharing any information out there. Do you want to give everyone just maybe at least your social handles, your website, and in any other way they should get in touch with you or that they can support you?
Definitely. So you can follow Detroit Vegan Soul on Facebook at Detroit Vegan Soul, on Instagram and Twitter at DET Vegan Soul. And please visit our website at detroitvegansoul.com. And I also want to mention that for those businesses who are in the stage that they're transitioning to a brick and mortar, they've been working their business for a while. I am offering consulting services to help. That's one of my personal goals, is to help other businesses thrive. And you can reach me through my Instagram. I'm Kirsten Ussery on Instagram. And you can DM me, you can send me a message. I'm also Kirsten Ussery on Facebook. So you can send me a message at either place, and we can connect and talk about how to get your business to the next level.
Oh, that is wonderful. I hope everyone who's listening, please reach out. Make sure you take advantage of this opportunity, because I think it's so important to have a great coach when you are making big changes in your business. And it's so great to be able to learn it from someone who's been there before, who's learned it, and is still very active in the work. So I'm so glad you shared your information, and I hope people reach out to you. And I also want to just say thank you for spending a little bit of time with me today, sharing your vision, sharing what you've done, talk about your past, and also talk about some of the things that you've been doing as you've been kind of pivoting and being flexible during everything that's happening in our current environment. So thank you once again, and I can't wait to continue to hear about your success. Continue to maybe you and I continue to get to know each other more. And, I love obviously reading the headlines as I see them, on the outside looking in. So it's just been great following your success as I guess as a fan. But I really appreciate getting a chance to chit chat with you, and hopefully we'll also be able to chat again in the future.
Yes, I would love that.
Perfect. Well, thank you everyone who has joined us live and enjoyed today's session. We love it, love it, love it when you join us live, but we also love it when you watch these as replays. So we hope today's session was not only a little inspirational for you, but also grounded you, as you're thinking about maybe starting a restaurant, maybe doing pop-ups, as you're making this transition. And even as business owners out there, maybe if you're not into the food industry directly, but you are a vegan entrepreneur, you're a plant-based entrepreneur working out there, that today's session can give you some of those insights, some of those things that are a little bit different when you take it from idea to actually doing it. I really think there's some great nuggets of advice and ideas for everyone out there, especially that idea of joining a contest and nudging out some of those other businesses out of the way and, performing as well as you did. I really feel like that's just great for anyone out there who's running a business, and how important it is to jump on the scene and make a splash as you're launching your business. So thank you, everyone who's joined us live, and we'll see you in our next interview. Bye, everyone.